Hello, my name is Dave Curtis. I've been with the Canton Historical Society since 1982, and today I would like to tell you the story about the Bartlett Travis House that's out at Preservation Park on Ridge Road north of Cherry Hill. In 1839, Maria's brother, Darius Blackman, sold her the piece of property on the southwest corner of Canton Center and Warren Road. About 1843, that is when this house was built. The property was sold to Maria for $400. The house at that time consisted of the dining room, the kitchen, the sitting room, and also this parlor and an upstairs loft. That was all that was consisted of this house. The parlor being used mainly for funerals and important get-togethers, but it rarely was used and opened up. In 1861, Thomas Bartlett sold the house and the property to his son, John. And in 1862, Thomas and Marie's sons, John and James, joined the 24th Michigan Infantry during the Civil War. Unfortunately, John was captured at the Battle of Gettysburg and taken prisoner, but was later released. And then at the Battle of the Wilderness on May 12, 1864, he was killed in action. Since he had died at that point in time, his wife took possession of the house and the property. His wife, Clarissa, sold the house and property to John's brother, George Bartlett, for the cost of $1,200. In the 1870s, George added on the kitchen to the back of the house and then made what was the existing kitchen the dining area. He also added the front porch, which was kind of a fancy porch for that time. In 1896, George Bartlett passed away and the house went to his wife, Sarah. In 1908, Sarah sold the property to William Travis. And William Travis added on the nice Italianate-styled porch that wraps around the house. He also added a back porch in 1919. In 1924, William passed away, and the house and property went to his daughter, Ella. In the 1920s, Thomas Meyer took ownership of the property, and it became an antique store at one time, sitting there on Canton Center Road, just south of Warren Road. The property finally ended up in the hands of Ken Dividock, who was a realtor in Canton. Ken then donated the house to Canton Township, and it eventually was moved to this location. That was in 1989, and then the process began of restoring the house because it was in pretty bad condition, as it had been turned into an apartment prior to this, and there was a lot of different rooms and stuff, and they had to completely restore this. The restoration was done by local carpenter Rex Harvey, who was an expert in restoring old homes. You'll find that some items are not of original, such as the bathroom that used to be part of a pantry, but in order to meet the handicap rules and because people would be coming in and out of this building and being used, a more lavish bathroom had to be added on. The same goes for the stairway. The stairway is not original. The original stairs was very steep and did not come into the dining room as much as it does now. But again, it had to meet local codes. The hand railing was custom made by Rex Harvey and is very typical of hand railing for that time period. You'll note in the dining room, there's a beam going across the north end. That's an original beam to the construction of the house. The same thing in this parlor in the southwest corner, this exposed beam. This was all post and beam construction, and wooden pegs were used to tie the different pieces of wood together. There are several other locations in the house that you can see some of the original building. For example, between the parlor and the living area, a pocket door at some point in time had been installed. In the refurbishing of the house, we found original wallpaper, and that is on exhibit up on the wall. There's also an exposed beam on the second floor. The second floor is consisting of 2 bedrooms. One of them is furnished, and a lot of furniture has been donated. The kitchen, as you will notice, is very, very modern. It consists of a microwave and some other appliances that were not at that time. Back in the 1800s, the kitchen was probably a coal-type stove that the food was cooked on. The water came from a well from outside, and the same thing with the bathroom was outside with an outhouse. Most of the outhouses had 2 seats because quite often the mother may have to take a child out there. This was not a very pleasant thing to do in the wintertime when you have deep snow and cold weather, but they did not have the inside toilets. However, in the 1 bedroom upstairs, you will find what's called a chamber pot, which people often use in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom so they wouldn't have to go out into the outhouse. The dining room has some very nice, expensive wallpaper that was put up there mainly because of the traffic that was going to go through here. We wanted something that looked very nice. In reality, the people that lived here were probably poor farmers, didn't have a lot of money, so it was very simply decorated. Where right now it looks very exquisite the way the wallpaper is. The sitting room was the main room for people to get together at night and read the Bible, talk about what had happened in the area, and play cards and games. The room to the east of the parlor, we're not sure just what that was. We have it displayed as an office, but it might have been a room for a small baby or even a birthing type room. Most of the flooring is original. Some of it had to be replaced because of damage to it, but it's all made to look like it was at the time. At one time, before electricity, this place would have been lit by candle or lanterns. The light fixtures are not original, but they're reproductions of what would have been in the time period of the early 1900s, when there would have been electricity and there would have been lights. You'll also notice, go up the stairs, at the top of the stairs is an exposed beam there that helps show what the original wood construction was, but the beams have been hand-hewed pieces of wood. There's also a painting that's up there that would not have been here at the time, but it depicts what the agricultural area would have looked like, and I believe that picture was taken from a county atlas. In 2002, the house was opened up to the public and is still a public piece of property of the townships. On the outside, the house looks pretty much as it did when it was at Canton Center and Warren Road. The inside is much more lavish than it probably would have been during this time period. Originally, when this house was moved here, the plans from the township was to have a working farm. And there was going to be livestock and animals, and people could come, and particularly children, see how a farm was operated, be able to pet the different animals, etc. When the house was redone, with the idea of this being a working farm, the upstairs 3 rooms to the north was set up so it would become a place for the person who was going to take care of the farm would be able to live. 220 electrical and other facilities were set up for cooking and for a washer and dryer. However, with the building of the apartments next door, it was decided that people would not be happy with the smell of the farm, and so it became more like what it is today. Currently, those rooms are being used by the Canton Historical Society as a place for us to store our materials, such as various pieces of old clothing and things that we use for exhibits at our museum on Canton Center Road in front of the fire station. There's also two smaller rooms. One is used as a research room where people can come in and research their families and research the history of Canton. And in the smaller room, we have file cabinets that have Civil War pension records of the 97 Civil War soldiers that were from Canton that fought in the Civil War, of the various early settlers of Canton, also the early businesses, churches, cemeteries, etc., where people can do research about Canton or their families in this area. It's important that the township had the thought to preserve this particular house, because so many of the old farmhouses have since been torn down and are gone, and it's hard to realize what houses would have been like at that time, how people would have lived. And I really credit the township for what they did in saving and preserving this particular building.